Thank you so much to both of you for such a great presentation. We got a lot of content. We got a great overview of how the graduate application process works, what characterizes graduate programs in the US, and more specifically, the graduate statement of purpose and the personal statement. Just so you know, there are a lot of resources that you can also go to online to work on these parts of the application. You can come to us, of course, and I am just going to copy very quickly some of these in the chat box, the ones that you are actually seeing right now on the screen, so that you can access, let's see, yes, so that you can access all of them and revise them as you start working on your own applications. So right now, I would like to go over a few of the questions that we already have. I don't want to keep Mary and Amir a lot of time here, so you also have their email addresses, so you can contact them if you have specific questions about their programs and everything they talked to us about today. But let's go over a couple of questions. We already talked, one second, I'm bringing them up right here. There we go. So we already talked a little bit about the GPA question and also the matter of contacting faculty. I see, Vladislav, that you have quite a specific questions, and Amir already addressed one of them. But if you would like to contact Amir or Mary directly, since there are very specific questions, that might be the best option. But in terms of financial aid, I would like to go to Lorena, our question about federal student aid as an international student. If Mary or Amir, if you would like to clarify on this for us.
Sure, yeah. Typically, federal student aid is not available for international students. So unless you have a green card, you can't apply for the FAFSA federal aid, unfortunately.
Exactly, like Amir was saying, for international students, there's going to be a specific funding, but the federal one is not available for you. So it's not an option that you should be contemplating. Another question that we had from Alba, for example, is regarding the resume. This is like another element that would take another webinar entirely, but maybe Mary, if you could give us like very quick tips on it.
I had mentioned not to use templates for your essay, and that's still true. But in the case of a resume, you can probably find some structural examples online that'll give you an idea of what it should look like. And if you, for example, like justify all of the work title experience and put the date, if it matches structurally that way, that's totally fine. So there are lots of examples online. A lot of our universities actually have internet or career centers that'll give you tips for resume building. So you might, while you're on the website doing your research, go ahead and drop over to a career services office and see what they have available. But I would say typically in the US, I've heard that what we write tends to be considered bragging a little bit more than maybe some other countries. So don't be afraid to really highlight the things that you've accomplished. I would say keep it relatively brief, because when you look at a resume, you want key points to stand out to you instead of large chunks of text like paragraphs. I would do bullet points. I would focus on what is specifically important to the field or program to which you're applying. Like, your blue ribbon in swimming isn't super important. It's great that you got that, but maybe leave that off, this particular one. And then as far as resumes in the US also, we're very protective of like your identity and personal information, so that that's not a determining factor in either your admission to a program or you're hiring for a job. So we don't need to know if you're male or female. We don't need a picture. We don't need to know about your family. We want it to be pretty cut and dry in terms of its relation to your academic field or professional capacity, just because we try very hard to try to maintain a sort of neutral process. And we just need that information that is most relevant to the program. And if you don't mind, I'll go down to the second part of that,
Yes,
which is whether or not you can learn more about the faculty and who they are in terms of advisors. You're right. Rate My Professor can be a little bit tricky because usually it's people that are upset that go onto a website like that and they want the world to know exactly what happened to them. People who are having a really good experience probably aren't going to come to the website unless they're bored. And if you're a grad student, you should not be bored. You're going to be busy. What you can do is check out either the department pages or an admission page. We often host live chats. It could be specifically with student ambassadors, where if you can find it in the academic department, it'll be really good because they'll be very specific. They'll be within your field and they'll be working with your faculty. But most, especially now because so much has moved online, most universities are going to offer an opportunity to connect with current students and talk to them about their experiences within the program, within the faculty, within different aspects of campus. If you can't find that, that's also another good reason to contact the admission office, perhaps, or the department directly, because we can connect you with a current student within that academic program to give you an opportunity to talk to them. It won't be through me, like I don't need to be a part of that chat. It can just be the two of you connecting and talking about the things that are either most concerning or relevant to you, and a current student can give you a good idea of what that's like on a specific campus.
Another question that we got is about mentioning a specific chair or faculty member in the letter. What if that person is already fully occupied?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that's why, again, I will re-emphasize, I think one of the real good tools and tips we can share with you is contacting with the departments earlier than later. Any communication you establish with them is to your benefit, and that is one clear benefit of being in communication with the department. So, and as Mary said, which is unfortunately, you know, the case, these professors are very busy and prospective student emails don't always get answered. And that's not because you don't have a valid inquiry or you're not a compelling student or the professor doesn't want to work with you. It's just kind of the nature of how they prioritize their many responsibilities. So why I recommend is that I think what I've seen to be a successful tactic is you write to the graduate program advisor or manager. They're the administrative position whose job it is to respond to these types of emails. And you indicate in that email your interest of working with a specific professor. You can CC that professor on that email, keep the email brief. And that serves as an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the department, also to inquire about the availability of that professor to supervise like incoming PhD students, and just get your name in front of the faculty and the professors. And then I would, I think, just instead of like going on, like, you know, doing a statement of purpose in that email, just attach a CV or maybe a cover letter or something, just so that they can, if you have captured their attention, they can quickly look at something and say, oh, okay, this student is serious, I'm interested, and then kind of further the discussion that way. But more as it relates to like availability, reach out to the graduate program advisors. So to find that out, and many other benefits that come from that communication.
Wonderful, thank you, Amir. We're just going to take a couple more questions since we are already almost over 10 minutes. But just a very quick thing that I will respond myself. Regarding the ethnicity, we got a question from Miguel. Generally, from students from Spain, the ethnicity would be white. It's something that we are not used to, but correct me, Amir or Mary, if I'm wrong.
I mean, I am classified as the Iranian American. I would have to check a box that says white, which is not how I would identify my own ethnicity or experience, yeah. But that is unfortunately like these weird classifications at the federal level here.
They're really very general, so I say pick what you're comfortable with, like how you would prefer to identify, because no one's going to come knocking on your door and be like, by the way, you're something else. But I would also say this little piece of data is not going to follow you forward. It is not going to go with your application to the faculty. It's often hidden. It's more data that the institution collects to have an idea of who's applying, who's being served, Do they meet whatever criteria? So I guess there's an off chance you could get an email about a scholarship or something, but probably not. Usually this data gets completely hidden on the back end and is more just like statistical data for the university to have an idea of what their application population looks like. So honestly, if you wanted to leave it blank and it gives you the opportunity to do so, which it may, because typically this information is voluntary, you can put whatever you want. Feel okay with what it is that you choose to select. It's totally fine.
Yes, and it is identical to Caucasian, to answer your question, Vlad.
Thank you so much to both. The question that we have regarding language scholarships, please do email us directly so that we can give you examples specific to that. And the question from Julia regarding if the admission office is going to take into account your grade within the context of the Spanish educational system, yes, that's something they regularly do. So we are going to finish for today. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us. I hope that this was a very useful session for you. Thank you to Mary and thank you to Amir for joining us as well. It was a wonderful presentation with lots of content that I'm sure are going to be used very well for preparing applications. And to the question that we received about the recording, yes, this session will be later available on our YouTube channel. So again, we are here to help you. Feel free to contact us with any further questions, and thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you, and thank you, Education USA Spain, for your warm virtual hospitality. And hopefully we can come visit you in person sooner than later.
Fingers crossed. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.